We can count back 400 years of the most brutal treatment. Look, they took my name, my language, my culture. They killed my mother, my father, denied me religion, disallowed me to read or write for over 300 years. Reduced me to the level of an animal where they branded me on my chest, branded me on my buttocks with a branding iron. And they called me 3/5 of a human being in the American Constitution. Is that the act of a human being or the act of a devil?
Have the workers of iniquity no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread?
Let's deal with common sense. The Egyptians of antiquity, not the Egyptians you see today in that land, okay? That usurped that land, pushed the real Egyptians out into the Sudan land, okay? The Sudanese over there. Understand that? The Ottoman Turks and Arabs got together and pushed them out. So when you understand it's the Egyptians of antiquity that I asked about, what color were they? I'm asking you. Know, yo. We don't know. Everybody knows. They were black.
The evil that men should turn their brothers into beasts of burden, to slave and suffer dumb anguish, be stripped of spirit and hope and faith, only because they are of another race, another creed.
Listen, where's your kingdom? Where's your land? Where's your castles? Before Alexander, name it, you can't, because it does not exist.
Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity.
All praises, honor, and glory to the Most High, and to his Son, whom he sent to be the propitiation for the sins of Israel. Shabbat shalom to my family out there who are Israelites according to the flesh. Shalom and blessings, brother Elisha. How's it going?
Shabbat shalom. Can you hear me, bro?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, Shabbat shalom to all the Israelites out there scattered to the four corners. You know, I know tonight, at least for some of us that observe tonight, we'll be going into the Feast of Trumpets. If there's anybody out there that needs the calendar, I'm just need your email, and I can see the calendar. Don't worry about it. I'll send it as soon as I can, and hopefully we'll all be on the same page keeping these feasts. If not, we're just going to lift up prayer the same. So, you know, peace and blessings to all the brothers, sisters, everybody.
Mass incarceration generation. A planned genocide. For years, we've been told, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, Israel. You know, the reason why things are the way they are with you people is because you're lazy, you abandon your children. You know, there's no morality in your nation, in your neighborhoods, in your communities. Your drug dealers, your gangbangers, right? But all this didn't just come about by accident. There was an agenda there was a plan and an action put in place to ensure that our community remained stagnant and degradation ran rampant throughout our community. And even to today, there's a plan to ensure that our children pass through the penal system and that they don't see freedom in life and the ability to live out a safe future, a prosperous future. There's an agenda to push the destruction of our communities, the destruction of our men, our children, and our women, that we continue to be abandoned, that we continue to be slaves in these states, in these countries, in this country, more particular. There's no poppy fields in the ghettos, but there's plenty of dope. There's no gun manufacturing companies. There's plenty of guns. And there's a liquor store and a church on every corner. And in these communities is where the children, the helpless, the poor remain forgotten. And then you have other people from other countries come into this country and look down on our people like we're nothing. But there's a reason why our situation is thus. There's a people pushing the destruction, a government funding our degradation, funding our ignorance, hiding the truth of who we are and our ability. It's strange to me that every time one of us do wrong, they equate it to all of us. But when one of us do right, that person is the exception. There is no ability for a mass movement of righteous people within our community. That's what they said. And yet and still you see people out here that look just like you and I, that label Israelites, hate groups. It don't matter how many people we pull from off the street and get them to stop selling drugs and destroying their community. It don't matter how many fathers we convince that their ways that they were doing was wrong and to follow the ways of the Most High and to protect their children and their wives and their sisters and their family. It don't matter how many people we convince through the laws of the Most High to turn away from sin. Why? Because it's a mass effort to destroy our people and keep us stagnant and in sin and become slaves in the system. So that's what this lesson is going to be about. Mass incarceration generation. A planned genocide on our people. Brother Elisha.
Well said, brother. One thing that we never talk about is that our mere presence, or even us coming over on the slave ships, was a form of mass incarceration. You know, when I was down in the Bing, you know, you never really forget these numbers. A lot of times you forget your inmate number because you're using it so much. But when a whole nation is brought into slavery, when a whole nation is brought really mass incarcerated. Your number is the last names that you bear that represent the heathen. The names that they put on our people represent that number that you get when you go through the plantation walls. When you say your name is Johnson and Jackson and Harold, whatever your last name is, that's your number. That's your state number. That's how you're represented instead of having a number that you get when you go into the prison walls. So we're going to throw this PowerPoint on. We're going to check out a few videos, and we're going to get some understanding that us coming over on the slave ships was the first start of mass incarceration as we were brought here in mass. And that because we're on the land of many waters, that represent the walls. Because you can't leave if you want to. You got to pay that money. You got to get a passport. You got to have the right financial means. So even though you can walk out your house, is no different than having an open cell. Even though you got a open cell, is no different than being able to freely go to the yard because you stay within these borders. You stay within these walls. So I'm going to grab this PowerPoint real quick. Just give me 1 second. Matter of fact, let me just start sharing my screen. And just let me know if y'all can see Brother Bonnie. You see it, bro?
Yeah, I can see it. Can you full screen it more than it is?
I'm a full screen it now. As long as you can just want to make sure you can see it. All right.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. As the brother said, mass incarceration generation. We're not just talking about us right now. We're talking about the whole generation of our people. More specifically, the movement to incarcerate our people inside this country through the prison system, through different laws that are particularly meant to really target our neighborhoods, to target our people. And by this happening is why you don't have the fathers in your home. And even now, more so now, you have a lot of our women being mass incarcerated just like the brothers. But this has a ripple down effect of destroying our people, destroying our nation. Now you have, though some of the mothers have done a great job in raising their children, you can't raise a son to be a man the way a man can. And because a lot of our homes had single mothers, and then the grandmother and grandfather, by implication, trying to help her out, our houses were broken. The discipline wasn't established in the house. A lot of the rules wasn't established in the house. This is not 100% in totality, but in most situations, this is how it happened. This is why even if we went down the line, most of us would say that we didn't have a mother and a father in the home. We got to understand how unnatural that is. The natural scheme for life is that a mother and a father should raise their children. The mother having her nurturing duties and the duties she has within the house and governing the house, and the father having his duties inside the house. You take one out, the house will be lacking in some way, shape, or form. So we already have enough hurdles that's already separating our people. Now, when you have an institution of mass incarceration, an institution of criminalized nationality, now that even takes it to the next step. Brother, you don't mind? Can you read that? If you can see it.
Yeah. Deuteronomy 28 and 25. The Lord should cause thee to be smitten before thy enemies. Thou should go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And the Most High shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Now, in Genesis 15, 13 through 15, and Deuteronomy 28, we know that those are the prophecies regarding the 400 years. And the prophecies of us going into slavery on slave ships. Most of us know that as common knowledge. But how would the Most High scatter us into these nations, and who would be used? Because that's important. We got to discuss who would be used to take us into slavery and who would be used to mass incarcerate us. Because if we don't know who it is, then we can't be sure that we're the people that these prophecies are really affecting. But who's the Bible say is the reason and the people that we should go into slavery to? I'll read this one, brother. It says, Deuteronomy 28:49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. Now, when it get to the part where it says as, that's actually in italic. It really should just say, or not swift. Swift would actually be in italics, but it really should just say as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. You know, I don't know if our brothers and sisters know this or not, but the hardest language on this earth to learn, at least according to most people in that field, is that the English language is one of the hardest languages to learn. And it's the newest language on the earth. And as of recently has the most prominence in the earth, though relatively new. Abuse of the Constitution. Now, within its laws, even though we know the Constitution wasn't meant to be applied to our people, but this part of the Constitution has directly impacted our people. In a free nation or free country, who makes provision for slavery? It says the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution provides that neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime or for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. And that's what we started talking about to start this dialogue, this lesson. It's the laws enacted, and who enacted these laws that caused the destruction of our people. That not only do we reflect on the 400 years that the Bible prophesies, or that they came here on slave ships, but that we're actively in incarceration, we're actively in slavery. We're still in the land that we were brought as slaves. We're still within the borders of the people who brought us in slavery. We still bear their names. Most of our people can go and buy clothes and buy cars and houses, a trip to the corner store, and not realize that right now we're being held against our will. The sole punishment right now is just being the children of Israel. Now we're going to play this video real quick. We're going to dialogue while it goes on. But imprisoned by who? Who brought us into captivity? Slavery, bondage. Also meaning mass incarceration is very important. Now, we know through the transatlantic slave trade, we were taken to the four corners of the earth. We were taken everywhere. Chiefly by what you would call the European power, starting in Great Britain before they settled this land and started to go all to the four corners of the earth, and, you know, a lot of those so-called nations. So we're going to play this video. Now, in the Bible, Esau would represent the eagle that we read in Deuteronomy 28:49. And why would Esau represent that? And we talk about the United States of America. Also, their brothers, the European Union. At one time, they were all one. So we got the EU, we got the USA. It's funny how those letters form the name Esau. As we can see in the scriptures in Psalms 49:11, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. One of the reasons that they put their names on us, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Europe, United States, oddly enough, those letters spell Esau seamlessly. Like we got to write there, like we created this. But a lot of times they tell you who they are right in the most obvious places. You got anything you want to say, brother?
No, continue. Continue, brother.
All right. Now, what nations represented the eagle? As the Bible talks about, as swift as the eagle flieth. We know ancient Greece, ancient Rome. We know America does. So we get a little history on that Pontiac eagle that represents these nations, the nations that are chiefly responsible for scattering us into all nations. Going back to the fall of Jerusalem, even when our brother Josephus was taken into Rome, and his name was changed. Philo's name was changed. If you go into Fox Book of Martyrs, it talks about how under Vespasian, over 1 million Jews at the time of the Mashiach, or after his time rather, in 70 AD, fled into Africa, amongst being taken into the four corners of the earth. It says the Pontiac eagle is the primary ethnic symbol of the Pontiac Greeks, also called Pontian Greeks. The bird spread wings, looks to the side.
What's Black American?
The eagle appears on proposed Pontiac Greek ethnic flags, and many Pontiac organizations use it as part of their logo. I'm pretty sure everybody knows the car. The Atios Dios was a giant golden eagle, which served as Zeus' personal messenger and animal companion. As Aquila was a prominent symbol used to ancient Rome, especially as the standard of a Rome legion, a legionnaire known as Aquilifer, the eagle bearer, carried the standard. Each legion carried one eagle. Herod had a golden eagle from the front of the temple. The symbol for the United States is the bald eagle, which corresponds with ancient Greek and Roman brotherhood. Ancient Greek and Roman brotherhood. Inside the book, the letters of Pontius Pilate, it actually talks about how, as a slight, Herod put that golden eagle, or I'm sorry. Yeah, Pontius Pilate put the golden eagle in front of the temple. And our people often fought about this, even to the losing of their lives, that they fought against this idol being placed in front of the temple of the Most High, even though it was the temple that Herod had built at that time. But our people had a supreme hatred that the Romans would do that as a slight and as a stab in the face, or to spit in the face of our people, to put that eagle up. Sorry about that. Lamentations 4:17, going back to the same thing. How do we know who we're supposed to go into captivity to, into mass incarceration, to slavery to? Forgive the King James Bible part being over here. Must have had a problem when it got transferred over to this PowerPoint. It says, as for us, Lamentations 4:17 down to 22. It says, as for us, our eyes has yet failed for our vain help. Referencing that we call out for the very people afflicting us to help us with their foot on our neck. We keep on asking for prison reform, legislation to stop the unjust attacks by police, laws that's directed at our people. We ask for vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They can't save us from them when they're doing the afflicting. They hunt our steps, that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near, our days are fulfilled, our end is come. So they hunt our steps, laws like stop and frisk, the violations of the Second Amendment that prohibits a felon, or a lot of times just regular people, from having a gun to protect their homes. Even though the Second Amendment was just overturned recently, I hope everybody knows about that. The Second Amendment, not overturned, but it actually was, the Supreme Court actually ruled that a lot of the states that put the stipulations in there that we couldn't have guns, even for some felons, that it was unconstitutional. So now, if any time in the history of this country, which should give you a sign to what's to come, almost anybody can get a gun now, whether a felon or not. But like I said, stop and frisk. They hunt our steps. They're patrolling our neighborhoods. They're hunting our steps, that we can't go out in our streets. It says, our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven. They pursue us upon the mountains. They lay wait for us in the wilderness. The breath of our nostrils, the anointed of the Lord, was taken in their pits. of whom we said, under his shadow we shall live among the heathen, after we were scattered into the four corners of the earth. It says, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, particularly pointing out Edom. So I know there's a lot of people who say that Japhet is the so-called white man. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished. That's a statement for those who know the 400 years is here. It said, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. A deadline date, a release date. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. Who will no longer carry us away into captivity? Japhet or the daughter of Edom? He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. So Edom has taken us into captivity. He will discover thy sins.
Can I interject, brother?
No doubt, bro. Go ahead.
You know, that's interesting because, you know, when we was reading Isaiah, those things that were said in Isaiah directly correlate to Esau also. You can see the similarity in the language and how he say he gonna make Esau naked and bare.
That's right.
A lot of people do believe that the so-called white man is Japhet, you know, but it doesn't fit according to end time prophecy of Japhet doing the things that we see happening today to our people. If you believe that you're an Israelite and you believe that the people over here are Japhet, how does that fit prophecy for them to be doing the things that they're doing today to our people? How does it fit them having the eagle as the emblem and carrying our people into captivity and having all this lordship and eminence over our people in the end times? Them particularly, you know, and it doesn't even have to be just here, you know, everywhere abroad you see these things happening with people that look like the same people that brought our people into captivity, doing the same things to our people all around the world, you know. But I think you know, the fact that, you know, these little debates are happening tells you that there's something behind that too, you know. They don't argue with you saying that the Japhet, the white man, don't have a problem with that. But when you start saying the Esau, then they're offended. Why? Because they want to be everything except for who they really are. They hide themselves. Esau hides himself. But that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, exactly, bro. And the fact that Esau hides himself, and this is for some of the people about the laws about a bastard. A bastard is one who can't claim or connect himself back to his father or his lineage. Every lineage on this earth that's connected to Noah's children, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, was given out by land according to the house of their fathers. So to have a place on this earth, you have to have a connection to the land or promises that was passed down to the children of Noah. When you don't have that connection, or that you deny it, rather, when you take up another man's heritage, when the Most High sifts the earth and you're not claiming your land, and this is why Esau is a desolation. Esau is like the only nation in the book. Ishmael still claims who he is. They can't say us because they lied about to us about who we are. Almost every nation outside of Esau and the nations they represent claim the descendancy of their fathers according to the Bible. Esau won't have a place on this earth because he doesn't claim what was given to him. and his land will ultimately be a part of our inheritance. And the righteous of his people also will likewise know what it's like to serve. It says the vision of Obadiah.
I'll read it, brother.
Oh, go ahead, bro.
The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. The pride of thy heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwelleth in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord.
Was once a man said the eagle has landed somewhere before. You know, these descriptions of the eagle is meant to tell us, or at least be assigned to us, to make us understand the revelations and the mysteries of the manuscript, to let us know who we are and the ones who's antagonizing against us. The Bible tells us over and over again, the ancient manuscript tells us over and over again how to discern and how to know who's being described. Brother, you want to grab this one as well?
You know what's interesting too, brother, that we're being accused of identity theft when that's not IMO. You know, the so-called white man culturally appropriates every nation that he comes in contact with. We're not the ones responsible for whitewashing the history. We're not the ones putting up movies and images of everybody looking like us. We're not the ones that turn around and culturally appropriate everybody's everybody's culture. But yet we're the ones who are saying, "Oh, you guys are stealing these people. These people, their nationality." Yet you have other people saying these people are Khazars. You got people saying that these people didn't even, the Jews left black and came back white. You got science that's telling you that a person can't change the color of their skin based off of their climate that they live in. If black people go and live in Alaska, 3, 4, 500 years from now, black people gonna be in Alaska. People do not change skin tone based off of their environment. But you want us to believe that you can't live in a place where sun is causing you cancer and that you naturally come from this place? That this is where you were brought up, your forefathers lived? And you getting skin cancer here? I seen a person when I was in school. We was all sitting outside having a picnic, and it was a little bit cloudy. The sun came out, and she got sick. She got like deathly ill. Her face and everything started breaking out. And I was like, ew, what's wrong with this? Yo, how you gonna be allergic to the sun? The life giver of the planet. Like when the sun shines on everything, it brings it life. How are you getting sick from it? But these people want us to believe that they've been living over there all this time.
Hey, brother, you know something? You know, and it should be a sign to our people where when it's 100-degree weather and you got to wear a top hat and a trench coat. Like they're not wearing those hats with the big brim and those long trench coat in a region where the weather is persistently 100 for no reason. They're trying to make sure their bodies are covered. That way, it's a defense against the sun. The same way they need a defense against the son that's on his way back to redeem his people. But everybody has some type of plausible explanation why they do the abnormal and say that it's normal. See, we don't, and I'm not going to say in rare circumstances we don't get skin cancer. But the best thing that's going to happen to us if it gets too hot is that we would get heat stroke. But just as a rising the temperature in the body, our skin was made to be in a hot region, a hot climate. And when you think about anytime you hear about the origins of Esau, or who they call the so-called white man, it's always in some mountain region. That's why the Bible talks about dwelling in the cliffs of the rocks. It's the Caucasus Mountains, the Caspian. Go ahead, bro.
I said Mount Seir.
Mount Seir. There's always some mountainous region or cold climate where there are a lot of mountains that they come from, that they always dwelt at. Even when you look at old depictions of Edom, you notice that they carved out their city in a mountain. I mean, you can go Google this. You know what I'm talking about, bro? They literally carved out their city in a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
When we had the Quran caves, we dug caves to get the hell away from them. Wasn't matter about hiding from the sun. I'll read this one, bro. Did you have anything else you want to say?
No, I just wanted to be a reader, but it's cool.
Oh no, go ahead, bro. Go ahead and do you good. You got it.
I don't want you to waste your breath reading and commentary.
I got you.
So this is Jeremiah 49:13. For I have swore by myself, saith the Lord, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse. And all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. I have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her, and rise up to the battle. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen, and despised among men. Thy terribleness hath deceived thee, and the pride of thy heart, O thou that dwelleth in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill. Though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith the Lord. Also Edom should be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by it should be astonished, and should be hissed at all the plagues thereof.
We have to know who our captors are. Who consistently represents the eagle, or some similitude is made in reference to their nation and the eagle. Who did the Most High say will come as swift as the eagle against? Who's in the curses? Who said, in what scripture did it say that the Most High says about Edom that he will no longer take thee into captivity? Like, we have to know the one who's sentencing us to incarceration, the one who brought us to this land where the borders are no longer bars, but seashores. And whose inmate number is no longer numbers, but the last names we bear. Let's check out a curse that's directly connected to Deuteronomy 28, verse 49. Got that, bro?
Isaiah 42:22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes. They are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith restore.
Both through the transatlantic slave trade, we couldn't be restored or redeemed. Said this people is robbed and spoiled, robbed of our freedom, spoiled of our goods, our time, our work, our monies, our families, spoiled for every resource that we can produce, and forced to produce resources and not profit from them. They are all of them snared in holes, snared in holes, as in hidden from the face of man. And they are hid in prison houses. Hid in prison houses. Who's being mass incarcerated, as the world would call it? The world calls it mass incarceration. They seldomly attach it to the 400 years we spend here, been physically in life enslaved and imprisoned. They are for prey. That means that they're used for anything good that they can get. They're for prey. Their life is for purchase. Their time, everything about them is a prey. Their children are a prey. Their fathers, their daughters, their mothers, their grandfathers. They won't spare the elderly man. They're for prey. Every nation reaps a benefit from us. Every nation. They come right to our neighborhood. They have more businesses in the cities than we do. Can't say the Arabs don't do it. They're in every street corner selling chicken or owning a gas station. Can't say the Chinese don't do it. They're selling us hair products, t-shirts, Chinese food of cats and dogs and whatnot like that. I hope brothers and sisters are still not eating that stuff. Every nation, Esau, he's at every corner. He has businesses all through the cities, everywhere we at. Everybody has us for prey. Everybody has us for a spoil. We are to patronize, but not be patron. For a spoil, we're only there to be profited off of. And none saith restore.
None saith restore. The Japanese got reparations. The Indians got reparations. We send millions to Israel. Tax dollars we pay. Billions to the Ukraine. There's no uproar. But when we start talking about reparations, then everybody got a problem. Don't nobody want to see us restored. Hated by everybody. And I don't give a damn if somebody say, oh yeah, I got friends that look this way or that way or this nation. They all hate us as nations. There is no compassion in any of these nations for our people. Don't nobody care about us. Don't nobody say, hey, these people were brought here as slaves. Why don't you guys restore them? Why don't you give them what's justly theirs and let them go? Nobody says that. Why? Because they all hate us. They all want to reap the benefit of our suffering. They all want to reap the benefit of what our forefathers died for. They want to beat us down, claim that we're nothing but criminals, while they reap what our forefathers died for. The same people that you looking down on, claiming they ain't this or that, died in wars for this country, fought wars for equality in this country. That you come in and reap the benefit for. But don't nobody say restore. And that's what we got to understand. To stop aligning ourselves with everybody. Because as soon as they get what they want, we left out in the cold. But we don't need reparations because that ain't nothing but paper. We want retribution. We want the vengeance of the Most High. We want what He wants. Because I hate a bully, and so does the Most High. Because bullies don't learn. You can go to the bully and say, please stop hitting me. But that never worked. Bullies don't listen until they get their ass knocked on. They get knocked on the ass. And that's what's coming in this place. Into every nation that ever touched us. But they don't believe that. They'll be definitely scared when they see what the Most High do to this place. When he's done with this place, there won't be anything left. And he don't need a nuke. He don't need all of that. He can cause a volcano to erupt tomorrow and blow this spot off the map if he wanted to. People underestimate the power of the Most High. Everybody looking for a man to come. Most High don't need no man. This is the being that said, "Let there be light," and it was. This is a being that you can't fathom. But you put your hands on his children and think it's not no consequences. He can say don't exist and that be it. But his glory, everybody will know that he exists. Because he's going to do it in front of your face so that you foolish human beings understand. I'm sorry, bro.
No, brother, man, listen, we all should be passionate, and our spirit should speak of these things in these ways. Another word for reparations and repatriation in Bible terms would be restored, redeemed. That's what those things would represent. Sometimes we look at our relationships with people. Of course, we all got Edomites that have befriended us, that we cool with. This has nothing to do with the acts of war that's being committed against us as a nation. Do you think that there's not Americans that don't have friends in North Korea or Russia or China? The acts of war committed by the judicial powers oversee any relationship we have on a humanistic level. I hope we understand that. Because if people think that we don't have Edomites that we know and are cool with and laugh with or have done it, they misunderstand what we're saying here. Anytime a person goes out in public, one should be friendly to and receive the same amount of respect. But as a nation, it's acts of war being committed against us. As a nation, we've been robbed and spoiled. As a nation, we've been thrown in prison houses. As a nation, disproportionately, we're affected by the laws of this land to the incarceration of our people and the poverty of our people, the disenfranchisement of our people, the psychological and physical degradation of our people, the spiritual death of our people, through religion and all these things. These are the things that happen to us while we're smiling and drinking wine with our favorite friend up the block. Is your mind now cloudy because somebody has befriended you? Have you forgotten the totality what is happening to us? Do you know that one day all this stuff will change and your allegiance better be made known, what side you stand on when that day comes? Because you better believe the ones that smile on your face are the same ones that say, y'all cool and all, but in hell no on reparations, repatriation. That's where we cross the line.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this right here is representing state prisoners by offense, and this is the almanac, the 2023 almanac, which I would say any Israelite, all Israelites should get this book for a multitude of reasons. But this is the state prisoners by offense selected characteristics in 2019. So we're talking about a total number of prisoners, male and female, of 1,221,288, 2019 to 2020, or reported in 2020. But when you make arrests, who's making those arrests? Like, what was the institution that allowed some officer to go out and patrol neighborhoods to criminalize activities or to enforce whatever has been written on the books into law? Brother Bonnier, you want to read that?
All right. Police or slave patrols. The origin of modern day policing can be traced back to the slave patrol. The earliest formal slave patrol was created in the Carolinas in the early 1700s with one mission: to establish a system of terror and squash slave uprisings with the capacity to pursue, apprehend, and return runaway slaves to their owners.
Now, if you look at up in the top right corner, you'll notice that the badge of the Deputy Sheriff of Los Angeles County and the Slave Patrol badge are of the same composition, the same style. One just says Deputy Sheriff, the other one says Runaway Slave Patrol. This is where your police come from. The inception of a thing has a large part to do with what it is in the present day, in the present moment. And the police operate, particularly in our neighborhoods, like they still are running slave patrols. In their spirit, they're still living in the spirit of their parents, their fathers, that lived hundreds of years ago, that owned and operated these slave patrols. The only thing that's been tapered down is the brutality. Not so much the killing, because they still kill us. And then when the camera's off, they still brutalize us. It's just not an open showing to everybody that they brutalize us and kill us like they did some time ago. The Most High has allowed us some mercy that they have to be convert to do, or go in a covert type of way to do those things to us. Now, this is arrest by race. That's the reason that we're looking at this. Arrest by race. Now it says arrest by race and Hispanic origins 2020. The source crime in the United States 2020 Uniform Crime Reporting, or UCR program, Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, U.S. Department of Justice. Each instance in which a person is arrested, cited, or summoned for an offense is counted as one arrest. Any interaction with the police that gets written down is considered an arrest. Some arrest data could therefore represent multiple arrests of the same person. Arrest estimates are based on statistics from law enforcement agencies that reported 12 months of arrest data, including race information. Like I said, this is in the World Almanac and Book of Facts 2023. Now, if you look at these numbers here, and I hope y'all can see them under where it says white and black African American, if y'all can see where I'm, moving my cursor. These arrest rates represent the total number of arrests. 5,213,213. 70% of all arrests are white people. Now, 70%. 26% represent so-called African Americans. That's a large disparity in arrests, not for just white collar crimes. We're talking about murder and negligent manslaughter, rape, robbery, aggravated assault. In almost every statistical category, for the most part, they have a higher percentage. Now let's see. Murder, they're 46%. We have 51. Rape, they're at 70%. We're at 25%. Robbery, 47%, 49%. Aggravated assault, which is when you assault another person, whether it be first degree or second degree, 62% of those arrests are white people. 33% of our people. Property crime, they more than double us. Burglary, more than double. Larceny, theft, more than double. Motor vehicle theft, almost triple. Now, when you think of carjackings, you often don't see that white people steal cars. You would think that we had a patent on carjackings, that we had a patent on theft of a motor vehicle. Arson, more than 3 times. They're arrested more. Other assaults, 65%. And the list goes on and on and on. Fraud, forgery, embezzlement. Just blanketly, they commit more crimes than we do.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that these numbers are doctored too, though, because look, it seems like a lot of these different offenses, a lot of them lead to murder. So how do we have 50%, yet they got less than us in murder? when
Now,
a lot of these different things that they commit lead to murder?
well, the thing
How
is,
did
you can't go by anything that they say with 100% accuracy, but the thing that they can't hide is that they make up a lot of arrests. So they should represent a greater number in the prison population. Because once you're arrested, normally after that you get your statement of charges, you get indicted, you end up going to trial. So barring some type of miracle, which we're about to explore that in a second, technically white people should represent more imprisonments than our people do. There's no way that we should represent more imprisonments and be just on a simple arrest alone. The only way we can represent more imprisonment is if, for whatever reason, the state's attorney is dropping the charges. The judges are choosing not to allow the statement of charges to go through. Is that they're getting misdemeanors where we're getting felonies. But we're going to look at that. Brother, do you want to say something?
no.
But I agree with you, brother. Of course, anything that they do is skewed, especially when it comes to things like murder and things like that. But according to this one, we'll rock out with it for a second. According to them, we commit more murders. So we'll play that game. But
And yeah, it's crazy because every time you see or hear about a mass shooting, it's always them.
Right. We know they got to try to make sure we outnumber them somewhere. So they decided to let us have murder, and they decided to let us have robbery. Those are the two. They couldn't embellish the rest of them because it's actually so one-sided that they couldn't make it look like we do these things in greater number. But it's all going to come together. Now let's look at the imprisonment rate. Let's look at the arrest rate. And by large in part, because white people make up 70% of the arrests, they should make up at least 70% of the imprisonment rate. But that's where we would be wrong. Imprisonment rate by gender and race, Hispanic origins, age 2020. Prisoners of the 2020 Bureau of Justice Statistics, BGS, U.S. Department of Justice. Numbers of prisoners sentenced to more than 1 year under the jurisdiction of the state of federal correctional officials per 100,000 U.S. residents is given a category at year end. Now, when I was in, what you would call the county jail, you had a lot of Edomites in the county jail, but most of them didn't get sent down the road. Down the road would be considered prison. That's what down the road is. A lot of them were able to do county bits. They were getting the mercy by them judges that even the ones that had to do time didn't get significant time. A lot of times their charges were knocked down to misdemeanors, things that actually can go away with an expungement. But the brothers, the black people that were inside that jail, most of us went down to prison. So let's look at these numbers. Remember, per 100,000. So ages 18 to 19, white males are in prison 157, or all white males, 157 to 585 to our people, black and Hispanic. You look at that, that's over 11 times higher. I'm sorry, my bad. That's actually 4 times higher. Put that right there. As far as the ages 18 to 19. You got 757 white males compared to 2,200 so-called black males at the age of 20 to 24, which again, this would represent maybe 3 times higher. Scratch these two numbers right here. They're actually mistakes. 11 and 10 is actually mistakes right there. Ages 25 to 29. You would have so-called white people going to jail. I don't know why I'm looking at this number. That's all male. I'm sorry. This right. I was right the first time. I'm tripping for a second. All right. 18 and 19. The number 47 will represent the white prisoners. So it's 47. Every 47 white inmates will represent 585 so-called black inmates. That would be 11 times. And then you would have 278 so-called white inmates will represent 2,294 so-called black. That'd be 10 times. And keep going down the line. Ages 25 to 29, 6 to 7 times higher. Ages 30 to 34, 5.5 times higher. 35 to 39, 5 times higher. And you can just keep going along with this number right here. This number being right here representing our people. This number right here representing the total amount of people per 100,000 of white people in comparison to the number that we have, which would be right here. These two lines right here. 35 to 39, 5 times higher for us. Ages 40 to 44, 5.5 times higher. And the national average is 7 times higher. That you would have more than 7 times more black people go to prison for the same crimes that so-called white people commit. 7 times higher would be the national average. And you can Google that. But as far as the statistics inside the World Almanac, you can see that the imprisonment rates are not indicative of the arrest rates. Somebody's not getting indicted. Somebody is getting a slap on the wrist. Somebody is getting drug program. Somebody is getting probation. Somebody is getting parole. Somebody is getting the charges dropped. Somebody is having something happen between those arrests that leads one people to go home and another people to end up being the large majority of the prison population. How is that? But then you have the propaganda that goes on that basically say that we're the ones committing all the crime. When you look at the news, it's us who's committing all the crime. We're the ones selling the drugs. We're the ones so-called murdering everybody, robbing everybody. So the imprisonment rates, along with the way they perpetuate it on TV, would look like we're justly the ones who should be in prison. But according to the numbers, they're committing almost in every category, and I would say every category, more crimes, more arrests for the same things, but are just not being incarcerated for. We're going to look at this quick video real quick. Brother, you want to say anything while we grab this video up?
No, I mean, a lot of the people in the chat are actually saying a lot of things that I would say. They're the ones that hold themselves not guilty. They do these things and then they say, "Oh, it wasn't us."
Exactly. Now, brother, if you can, let me know if you can hear this. Can you hear it?
No.
All right. Let's see if we can fix that. We always have an issue with the sound. Sorry, people. When I'm looking at the PowerPoint, I can't see the comments, so Brother Banya is going to have to address whatever is being said. All right, let me stop and see if I can get this.
If you have to, you can send me a link and I'll put it up.
All right. Let me see. Chrome tab. I think I got to move it over here. That's all I got to do. So just give me 2 shakes of the lambs to 1 second. Give me 1 second, people. All right. Just grab these links and put it in here, and I'm pretty sure we can hear it after that. All right.
These are the type of things that they do. They've been doing these things for years. Ever since the inception of this place and before that. These are the same things that our people had to go through with the Greeks, and the Romans. The false accusations, But they are our enemies. They are our enemies, and this is expected from them to be liars and things like that. And everybody know that they lying. Everybody knows it.
You see my screen, bro?
Everybody want to keep up the roots. I see it.
All right, tell me if you can hear it now.
Bobby Rush, remember?
Yeah.
All right. So let me go in and see if I can expand it. And let me turn it up. This is for the president that Art felt so eager to elect because he's
Another thing about how perspectives change over time. Bobby Rush, member of Congress, said the other day, "I'm ashamed that I voted for the '94 crime bill." You ashamed of that bill?
Not at all. In fact, I drafted the bill, as you remember.
I know that.
My Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this. I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro, good for the black in the South.
What you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community.
Talking about Joe Biden, who got up there, and when the speech he gave, I mean, I was really offended. I heard it right outside State Capitol building in Dover, which was a rundown, ransacked old house, 250 years old. And he said Negro children are like roaches. If they're allowed to integrate the schools, they will infest them and they will never be gotten out. Negro.
Who said that? Joe Biden said that?
Yeah, I heard it.
Wow.
Saw it. He said Negroes were animals. And
Real quick, fair use, brother. After we done with this video, play the fair use because we got to look at another video after this.
they turned the streets into jungles. And he and Senator Eastland had a plan where they could put all of these Negro animals in zoos. Now, we talk about the 94 crime bill. That wasn't shit. The 91 was bad. The
91.
87,
it doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
So you can see some of the things Joe Biden said early in his career and even going forward. He said it doesn't matter what our situation is, our condition is. We got to be taken off the street. And the crime bill was indicative of that. The crime bill was indicative of the wicked compassion about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. That their possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. He doesn't make any excuses for our people. They put legislation in place to make sure they incarcerate our people, even when they lie about a lot of the charges. But for his people, there's all the mercy in the world. It has to be. If the imprisonment rates represent that they get arrested more than our people, but yet are not being imprisoned, then mercy does come in somewhere. It does matter when you're white. It does matter. Is he's worrying about his kid getting knocked upside the head? Only if it's his own people that does it, it matters. But when it comes to our background, coming from 400 years of rape, robbery, murder, 400 years of slavery, poverty, ghettos, drug-infested neighborhoods, induced by the CIA, I might add, Planned Parenthood and all the devices, the poor school system. It doesn't matter when it comes to why our people commit crime. But obviously it matters when it comes to whether his people do it. Because they deserve a second chance. They deserve not to go down to the place where people get raped and stabbed every damn day. Our people are allowed to go there though, because it doesn't matter. We're going to watch one more video, brother. You want to play the fair use?
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. And this is a copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Now, even the brother Anonymous shows his son the biggest criminal out here, and he has nothing to say. Obviously, of course he doesn't. Hunter Biden. He out there hunting steps. He out there sitting in the crack houses and doing what he's doing. But it matters about mercy when it comes to their own people. We're gonna check out one more video. Let me start my screen again. Brother, you got anything you want to add to that?
This is the reason why we did the second Exodus plague video, to show why these things are happening to these people. You know, the same stuff that they look down on us about, now it's starting to happen to them. You know, the opioid epidemic, skin cancer, suicide rate. These things are happening to them for a reason. You know, but Esau's hard-headed. Even when you was reading the book about Herod and how he, even on his deathbed, he wanted to kill our people. You know, this is how these people are, man. The full-on wrath of the Most High come on these people, and they still keep doing what they're doing. So don't take what they're doing as a sign, because they operate in ignorance, foolishness, and unbelief. They don't operate with the full knowledge of the Most High. And they don't understand there's punishment beyond death. That's all I want to say, bro.
All right, we're gonna start this video, Brother Bonnie. Let me know if you hear it when it comes on.
Mass incarceration.
Yeah. All right.
Means that we've got a very high rate of incarceration historically, comparatively. And the other thing is the rate of incarceration is so high, so socially concentrated, we're no longer incarcerating the individual, but we're incarcerating whole social groups.
The rate hear that it says he used more of a politically correct term, saying social groups, than just to say a whole nation of people, a particular set of people.
Incarceration now is about 5 times higher than it was historically. Historically, it was 100 per 100,000. Now it's about 500 per 100,000. If we look at prison, if we add jail to that, it's about 700 per 100,000. Nowhere in the world incarcerates as much as we do. We've seen extremely high rates of exposure to the criminal justice system for African American men with very low levels of schooling. So if we
just looking at the incarceration rates as of 2010, even though we're looking at the one in the Almanac for 2019, look how high our number is over so-called white people. And you got to understand, this 380 has to be divided by 2,207 per 100,000. You're talking about 7 times, almost probably 7 times higher than how many white people get incarcerated. Though we have the understanding now, as we just looked at in the book of the Almanac, that they make up almost triple the rest that we make up. But for some reason, they're not ending up in prison. They're going home to their families. But our people who are arrested at a 3 times lower clip somehow make up 7 times more the incarceration rate for not petty crimes. And we went over the crimes: murder, robbery, burglary, rape. They're just not going to prison. Now you tell me, is that an act of war? Is that an act of genocide when you physically and socio-economically destroy your people? Destroying a family is just like destroying a person itself. You just destroy him and let him destroy himself at that point. You take his parents out the home, now he destroys himself. Now he has to be an anomaly to make it to a prominent position, to overcome his odds, to overcome his situation. Why the hell we got to keep overcoming our situation? Why we got to fight 10 times harder all the time? Why we got to be at the greatest disadvantage? This ain't no handicap match. This life in this country is a handicap match. It's like a boxer that signs a contract for $10 million and he has to have his strong hand, his right hand, tied behind his back, while the other fighter fights with 2 hands and both feet.
But people want to believe that they're not doing this on purpose. They can recognize when an animal is at a disadvantage. They can understand and have compassion for dogs and cats and animals. But they'll put our children, our babies in a situation and then expect them to operate normally. Take their mother, their father from them. Take the people away from them that they the only people they've known, and then expect them to operate normal. But they wouldn't do that to a regular beast. They wouldn't just take a dog out of the house, and you know what I mean? And then expect them to behave normally. And they got all kinds of contingency plans set up for beasts, but none for men, for our people.
Now, make no mistake, people, and this like just so we won't get it confused, because I know sometimes people like to accuse us of this as an Israelite nation, as a group. We're not saying our people don't do wicked things. We're not saying our people don't deserve some of the punishments that fall upon them. We're not saying that at all. We're not oblivious to the fact that our people commit crimes that even in the Bible would be punishable by death. We're not saying that at all. But there is something called conspiracy. There's something called a co-felon. In this country, if you tell a person to kill themselves, or you are the mastermind in a crime to perpetuate a killing, robbery, anything, you are a first-degree co-felon. You are principal inside a criminal trial just because you are the one who masterminded the situation. I want to know why that people can make money off of music and movies, paying our people to rap about murdering each other, our women about being whores and Jezebels, and they're not co-conspirators in the fact that we act these things out. But yet they're talking about the rappers killing each other and the gangs. No other nation perpetuates music that sexualizes their women, that talks about taking guns into their community and killing their own people. But they do this to this all the time. They do it to us all the time. They're making millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars off our people. Was it Jerry Heller, Clive Owens? The list goes on and on and on. How these co-conspirators to the music that gets our people to act dumb and docile, selling drugs and murdering each other, they pay the cost to be the boss to get that music out there. So when some young kid sees that and he grabs his gun, if he does so, or decide he wants to live a life where it's better to sell drugs, why aren't these people just as culpable as co-conspirators? Why are these people not being ridiculed to the degree that their face is plastered all over the TV? Why is it that if I drive with a person to a liquor store and he runs in and rob it and I don't say anything, maybe I'm afraid, I'm a co-felon. Under the felony murder law, I would get a a second-degree murder charge that can lead to life in prison with the caveat of with parole. Just for being there. Some people can be hit with co-conspirator charge just for knowing that something's going to happen. You tell me how one nation pays a nation to destroy itself and they're not culpable criminally, at least in their own system. Because in the court of the Most High, they are definitely co-conspirators. They're definitely culpable. But we give them a pass. Their people give them a pass. We see from these statistics that they're always going to give their people a pass, even when they're directly the ones who commit certain crimes. It's just when our people do it, after all the devices that's been put into play, we don't get mercy.
We think about black men who were born in the late 1970s and who were growing up through the American prison boom of the 1980s and the 1990s. The chances that they're going to serve time in state or federal prison if they dropped out of high school is about 70%. So going to prison for that group of black men with very low levels of schooling, that's become a normal life event. And that's really only happened in the last 10 years. We're at this point now where there's about 1.2 million African American children with a parent who's incarcerated. That's about 1 in 9.
I hope y'all heard that. I'm going to play that little part again so y'all can get an understanding what they just said.
Children with a parent who's incarcerated. That's now where there's about 1.2 million African American children with a parent who's incarcerated. That's about 1 in 9. The research shows the kids who experience parental incarceration have diminished school achievement, they have behavioral problems, depressive symptoms, acting out. And there's also evidence that these kinds of negative effects associated with parental incarceration are concentrated more among boys than among girls. And there's a very real risk here that incarceration becomes an inherited trait. The underlying issue is we've chosen prison as a way to respond to that problem of crime. And there are a whole variety of ways that we could have chosen to respond to that problem of crime. We've chosen the response of the deprivation of liberty.
Now, 1 second. The same responses he says that they could have dealt with our crimes instead of imprisonment. This is the way they're dealing with their own people's arrests for crime. This is why they're not ending up in the prison system. They're going home with house arrest. Retroactive justice, which means they're allowing certain laws that were put into play to affect their people. Mental health treatment. They're going into drug programs. A lot of times that falls under mental health treatment, or they're saying they're suffering some type of alcoholism or drug problem, and that for that reason, prison is not indicative, but yet a mental health facility is. Community service, going out there and doing whatever work it takes to avoid prison. Public shaming, just being put on blast. Parole and probation, which is hard as ever to get parole and probation, particularly when you're already behind the walls, but they're getting parole and probation from the rip. Your lawyer can actually request probation without a sentence, and most crimes have a certain number of probation or parole you can get without even having to go into prison. Sex offender treatment, when they running around raping and doing all these things, that these deviancy things, they're getting some type of treatment to help them with this, what they're calling mental health. They're not calling it wickedness, they're not calling it criminal, they're not calling it crime. These are the mechanisms and doors they're opening to make sure their people that get arrested at a 70% clip don't go into the prison system, where you can be forever changed by some of the things that go on behind the walls. God forbid you went in during the penitentiary days. Drug courts, rehab, almost the same as the mental health treatment. Something they had in Maryland called the 8505 and 8507 drug and treatment program. Alcoholism, whether you was on crack, any type of drug. Mental health, halfway houses, which is shut down a lot of times in the East. Boot camp. These are a lot of the mechanisms that they're opening up for people, of their own people, to avoid going to prison. And that's why the walls are filled with our people and not their own. They're finding a way to keep them out the prison system no matter what they do. Of course, there's a few stragglers in there, but not to the degree that we're in it.
The response of the deprivation of liberty. And we've chosen the response of the deprivation of liberty for a historically aggrieved group whose liberty in the United States was never firmly established to begin with.
Could you rewind that again?
With the whole thing?
No, not what he just said.
Okay.
Because he knows who he's talking about.
Deprivation of liberty. And we've chosen the response of the deprivation of liberty for a historically aggrieved group whose liberty in the United States was never firmly established to begin with.
Stop right there. You heard what he said?
Exactly. Yeah, I heard.
A historically aggrieved group whose liberty was never fully established in the United States. What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
Dred Scott.
That you're still slaves. You're still slaves. Your freedom was never really established. You have no nation, right? You don't have anybody to defend you, right? A Chinese person come over here and they done wrong, guess what? China gonna have something to say about it. any people that come over here from another country, if they're done wrong, their country going to have something to say about it. We don't have no country. We don't have a nation that stick up for us. You got all these people that got seats in the UN that look like us. But don't nobody speak for us. Don't nobody speak up for us. What does that tell you? If we African, where's the African nation that's supposed to speak up for us? Where's the African nation that's appalled at our treatment? Where's the nation that wants to see us return home? Where is our home at? But we don't deserve reparations, even though we've been, based off of what he said, we've been historically the worst treated people on the face of the planet. Historically. That's all I have to say.
Can you still see my screen, bro?
That's it.
You want me to read that or you got it?
You got the video up.
Do I? Thought I took it down. All right, let me stop my let me start it over. Hold on 1 second. All right, see, stop sharing that.
It's not our arrest, Israel. Don't nobody speak up for us. We keep on going and thinking that somebody else because of our skin color. Skin color don't mean nothing. There's people over there in India just as dark as you that think the same way Esau think towards you. There's people over there in Africa look just like you, but think the same way these people do towards you.
You see it now, bro?
Yeah, I see it. I'll read it. Habakkuk 12. O Lord, how long shall I cry and thou wilt not hear? Even cry out unto thee of violence and thou wilt not save. Why dost thou show me iniquity and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that raise up strife and contention. Therefore the law is slack, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceedeth.
I mean, the scriptures say, why dost thou show me iniquity? Iniquity is the inward thought. That's where the sin is conspired. That's where the sin is formed in the mind, inside the spirit of a man. The iniquity starts by the planning. These people plan to do evil against us. They plan to take away judgment out of the hand of the poor, the widow, and the fatherless, and cause me to behold grievance. A righteous nation will be grieved at what's happening when perpetually wrong judgment is put upon them, spoiling us, and violence are before me. Not just the violence that we do to each other, but mainly the violence perpetuated against us by other nations. Incarceration is an act of violence when you're taking somebody against their will. And let me tell you something, not all people that's in prison have done exactly what was said. I knew a brother that was locked up who didn't commit a killing, but he's in there for life. This was rampant in the 70s and the 80s when they were just looking for somebody to take the charge. Coerced confessions, false witnesses. Almost all states' attorneys try to prosecute you for crimes that they can charge you with, but not necessarily that you committed. And there are they that rise up strife and contention. Man, they're causing these things. They're causing the strife. They're causing the contention. They're making laws directly that are targeted at our people. Therefore, the law is slack. Law of the Most High not being kept here, where you wouldn't have not one homosexual in the land, no transgender. You would have none of the stuff that goes on if the Most High's laws were kept in this place. Righteous judgment will happen forth in this land. It doesn't happen here. It says, and judgment doth never go forth. Righteous judgment never goes forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore, wrong judgment proceedeth. You got brothers that's getting 15 years for having a gun. Supposedly the Constitution, which the Supreme Court just established, these states never had the ability to lock you up for having a gun. So what happens to all those people that were locked up for gun charges? What happened to all those people who were getting a year per bullet? I'm sure there's some that was just, who had nefarious intentions. But what about the ones who didn't? Because they're all thrown in the same. The just and the unjust thrown in prison, according to these statutes, according to their constitution, was lawful to begin with. Are they going to make it retroactive to everybody that got a gun charge? They always seem to make it retroactive when it comes to their people, to make sure their people get out of harm's way and don't end up in prison in the 7-to-1 odds that it is in the prison system when you're looking at blacks and Latinos. The prison system is full of blacks and Latinos. Seeing white people in certain prisons is like looking for, well, where's Waldo? They're not in there at a great clip. Not to say they're not in any prisons in America. And I don't have to justify this. They look for every prison that they're at. But as far as the total mass numbers, our people outnumber them 7-to-1. You got that, brother?
Zechariah 11:14. Thus saith the Lord my God, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not.
You got people like Kamala Harris. You had the one state's attorney out in Baltimore. Our own people help and get us incarcerated to a mass degree. A lot of our own people are more harsh when it comes to the judicial system than their people are against us in a lot of situations. Even the situation with Meek Mill and the judge, the female judge that was constantly over that man's head. It says, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. You see that their people are being arrested in a large clip, almost 3 times more than ours, but they're not being held guilty. They're not making it all the way through the so-called criminal process. They're not even making it to trial. There's no other way to look at numbers where you're locked up or arrested 70% or at least 3 times more than another nationality, but yet they make up 7 times more the imprisonment numbers. And say, they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord. Man, these people is running around saying, thank the Lord when we incarcerated. When our people getting killed, thank the Lord. This is where Psalms come in when it says, when the Most High says, thou thought of all together like thyself. These people think the Most High is in agreement with them. Most High is not in agreement with wrong judgment. Most High is not in agreement with a nation holding another nation guilty, but they're doing it at a greater clip, but hold themselves not guilty. Most High is not in agreement with our own shepherds pitying us not. I'm not going to say any names. I'm going to just say our people that's in these religions and different governmental bodies are extending no mercy. You want to say anything there, brother?
No. Isaiah 51:20. Thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the streets, as a wild bull in a net, They are full of the fury of the Lord, the rebuke of thy God. Therefore hear now this, thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine.
Thou afflicted and drunken and not with wine. What other nations? What other nations stay at the head of the streets where they got TV shows like The Corner and The Wire, showing the activities in the inner cities of us selling drugs and murdering each other on the street corners? As a wild bull in the net, gang violence, our people fighting against each other in the streets. So they were full of fury, man. You see the young brothers in the videos with the guns. Dudes be having bazookas, AR-15s, semi-automatic weapons I can't even pronounce. Jumping around, acting wild, tattoos all over their faces. They're full of fury, kill you in a second. But why are they acting like this? Said they're full of the rebuke of thy God. When the Most High take his protection off of you, you don't know who you are. The rebuke of the curses is why we're in this situation, being scattered in the four corners of the earth. It says, therefore, hear now this, thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine. Drunken with this poverty, slavery, social economic injustice, poor education, poverty. Afflicted because of our circumstances that lead us that actually lead us into a lot of the activities that we're into. Even inside the law, a man who stole because he was hungry received some type of leniency. A person who went out in the woods that had not a controversy with his brother, but he ended up dead because the axe head fell on him. It was a place for him to flee because circumstances matter. It doesn't matter in this system. Got anything you want to add, bro?
No.
This person says Stephen Darby was not.
I'm going to look at a book called The New Jim Crow. And after we read these excerpts, we pretty much will be over. That will be it. But we're going to look into this book by Michelle Alexander. I would actually say that everybody should get this book to get an understanding on what is called a caste system. You know, where you had certain families that were set up and they had advantages over the other people of those society. And it started off in India and things like that. At least that's the way they perpetuated. I wouldn't say it started off in those places. But read, it says, no liberty and equality for all. The reality is an enduring racial hierarchy that has persisted for centuries. And that's what you have. You have a racial hierarchy. You have Esau over Jake. Brother, you want to read that? Just let me know when you want me to pick up for you, because it's a couple pages.
All right, yeah. It says, the timing of the crack crisis helped to fuel conspiracy theories and general speculation in poor Black communities that the war on drug was part of a genocidal plan by the government to destroy Black people in the United States. From the outset, stories calculated on the streets that crack and other drugs were being brought into Black neighborhoods by the CIA. Eventually, page 6. The new Jim Crow, even the Urban League, came to take the claims of genocide seriously. In its 1990 report, The State of Black America, it stated, there is at least one concept that must be recognized if one is to see the perversive and insidious nature of the drug problem for the African American community. Though difficult to accept, that is the concept of genocide. While the conspiracy theories were initially dismissed as far-fetched, if not downright loony, the word on the streets turned out to be right, at least to a point. The CIA admits, Ted, in 1998, that guerrilla armies guerrilla armies actively supported in Nicaragua were smuggling illegal drugs into the United States, drugs that were making their way into the streets of inner city black neighborhoods in the form of crack cocaine.
Now, let's be more specific on that situation. It is known that the CIA brought drugs into the inner cities to fund the Contras, to fund the guerrillas in Nicaragua and in Cuba. They did that. No trial set, no person made responsible for the drug epidemic in our communities. Only laws enacted that mass incarcerated us for us. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. The brother said earlier about genocide and mass incarceration. Right here it shows you, according to the Urban League, they had an article about that, or wrote or pushed the understood this was going on back then on the war on drugs. There was a genocidal plan by the government that they fully intended to flood our neighborhoods with drugs. Some history would lead back to this is how they got rid of neighborhood groups like the Black Panthers. When the places that we were living at, we started to be unified and start to clean up our neighborhoods. This was their action behind that. Now, you tell me, if you're the reason for the drug epidemic, why put laws in place to only affect the people, not only the ones who's selling the drugs, but the people that's doing the drugs? I know a brother I was incarcerated with that had 2 empty bags in his pocket, 2 empty bags, enough to find which would be considered paraphernalia. This man got 7 years for 2 empty bags that he used on himself. What happened to drug court, drug program, mental health program? No, incarceration for getting high for yourself. Drugs that in large part were brought in by the very government that's prosecuting us into the prison system. But we're angry for a time and then we go back to things as usual. Other nations could not endure these things and not be in the streets perpetually. Our people are angry for a season and we go right back to things as usual. Let me know when you need a break, bro.
No, I'm good. The CIA also admitted that in the midst of the war on drugs, it blocked law enforcement efforts to investigate illegal drug networks that were helping to fund its covert war in Nicaragua. It bears emphasis that the CIA never admitted, nor has any evidence been revealed to support the claim, that it intentionally sought the destruction of the Black communities by allowing illegal drugs to be smuggled into the United States. Nonetheless, conspiracy theories surely must be forgiven for their bold accusations of genocide in light of the devastation wrought by crack cocaine and the drug war. And the odd coincidence that an illegal drug crisis suddenly appeared in the Black community after, not before, a drug war had been declared. In fact, the war on drugs began at a time when illegal drugs use was on the decline. During this same time period, however, a war was declared, causing arrests and convictions for drug offense to skyrocket, especially among people of color.
Let's pause right there real quick, bro. They literally started the war on drugs before there was even a drug problem in our communities. These people had already put in place the punishments for illegal drugs before there was a drug epidemic. Now, that right there is called intent. They intended to destroy our communities with drugs. They had already set in place these mandatory minimums and 3-strike rules they were heading towards before there was ever really a problem. They can't then turn around and say it was the war on drugs that caused the war on drugs, or that the drugs in the cities caused it, or the problem caused it. They put the legislation in place before the drugs were even a problem. And so when Joe Biden said in that video he doesn't regret the crime bills he passed, what is he really saying to you? When he says, I don't regret putting those laws into action. Go ahead, brother.
They declared the war on our people. Because drugs wasn't the problem. The war was on our people.
Exactly.
The impact of the drug war has been astounding. In less than 30 years, the U.S. penal population exploded from around 300,000 to more than 2 million, with drug convictions accounting for a majority of the increase. The United States now has the highest rate of incarceration in the world, dwarfing the rate of nearly every developed country, even surpassing those in highly repressive regimes like Russia, China, and Iran. In Germany, 93 people are imprisoned for every 100,000 adults and children. In the United States, the rate is roughly 8 times that, or 750 per 100,000. The racial dimension of mass incarceration is its most striking feature. No other country in the world imprisons so many of its racial or ethnic minorities. The United States imprisons a larger percentage of its black population than South Africa did in the height of apartheid.
Now, I want to let that sink in. It says no other country in the world imprisons so many of its racial or ethnic minorities. No other people enslave black people like America does.
And one of those nations was a black nation.
Exactly. The United States imprisons a larger percentage of its black population than South America did at the height of apartheid. That's where Nelson Mandela got his prominence. This place literally targets its black population, its minority population. Our people should have a continual disdain for these practices and be ready to say, let us go. Our vocation should only be let us go. When somebody asks you what your last name is, it should be let us go. My name is John, let us go. My name is Lisa, let us go. Whatever your name is, let us go should be your last name at this point. On the next page, bro. You there, Aki?
Yeah.
I'm on the next page.
Okay. In Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, it is estimated that 3 out of 4 young black men and nearly all those in the poorest neighborhoods can expect to serve time in prison. Similar rates of incarceration can be found in black communities across America. These stark racial disparities cannot be explained by rates of drug crime. Studies show that people of all colors use and sell illegal drugs at remarkably similar rates. If there are significant differences in the survey to be found, they frequently suggest that whites, particularly white youths, are more likely to engage in drug crimes than people of color. That is not what one would guess, however, when entering the nation's prison and jails, which are overflowing with black and brown drug offenders. In some states, black men have been admitted to prisons on drug charges at rates 20 to 50 times greater than those of white men.
And stop right there, bro. Now, is this not exactly what we're reading when we're saying that they're arrested 70% of the arrests, but yet we're making up 7 times more the prison population, even in some places 20 to 50 times greater. Wrong judgment, proceedeth. Possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. Go ahead, bro.
And in major cities racked by the drug war, as many as 80% of young African American men now have criminal records and are thus subject to legalized discrimination for the rest of their lives.
13th Amendment.
These young men are part of a growing undercast, permanently locked up and locked out of mainstream society. It may be surprising to some that drug crimes was declining, not rising when the drug war was declared. From a historical perspective, however, the lack of correlation between crime and punishment is nothing new. Sociologists, what that say?
Sociologists
have frequently observed that government use punishments primarily as a tool of social control, and thus the intent or severity of punishment is often unrelated to the actual crime pattern.
It means that premeditatedly they already know what they're going to do with you, and it really seldomly has anything to do with the crime. There's already a bias. There's always already an Ezekiel 35:5, the perpetual hatred that they have on Jacob that is inside their heart, and not necessarily the crime that is being claimed that you committed.
The social control. What was happening during those times? You had the Black Panthers. You had Malcolm X.
That's right.
You had different uprisings of blacks or so-called black people trying to get things correct within our neighborhoods.
Absolutely. This is the last one, bro. As far as this book.
Okay. This fact, he points out, can be seen most clearly by putting crime and punishment in comparative perspectives. Although crime rates in the United States have not been markedly higher than those of other Western countries, the rate of incarceration has soared in the United States, while it has remained stable or declined in other countries. Between 1960 and 1990, for example, official crime rates in Finland, Germany, and the United States were close to identical. Yet the U.S. incarceration rate quadrupled. The Finnish rate fell by 60%, and the German rate was stable in that period. Despite similar crime rates, each government chose to impose different levels of punishment. Today, due to recent decline, U.S. crime rate have dipped below the international norm. Nevertheless, the United States now boasts an incarceration.
It must be incarceration. It must have clipped off.
Incarceration. The new Jim Crow creation rate that is 6 to 10 times greater than the other industrialized nations. A development directly traceable to the drug war. The only country in the world that even comes close to America's rate of incarceration is Russia. And no other country in the world incarcerates such an astonishing percentage of its racial or ethnic minorities.
Now, this goes back to the Bible when the Most High said he would send a nation against us as swift as the eagle. The reason the United States mass incarcerates the way it do, because it's prophetic. It's part of the curses. They're moved according to prophecy to do exactly what they're doing. That's why they target what they're calling minority groups. We know it means black. It's a reason why they're targeting us. There's a reason why they're moved to judge our people in a way they don't judge themselves. Because the Bible said that they would do these things, and that the people that would do this will be represented by the eagle. The people that would do this would mass incarcerate the Israelites. These are signs of exactly who is doing this to us and who we really are. This place is not an egalitarian society. Now, the United States basically says this is what they are, an egalitarian society, which being defined as relating to or believing the principle that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. We know that's not this place. They can't boast this brand. They can't connect themselves to anything like this. Statistically, we see how they operate when it comes to judgment. We see how they operate when it comes to employment. We see how they operate when it comes to education. We see how they operate in the judicial system. We see how they operate on a humanistic level. We see how they operate on a socioeconomic level. In every way, this place is not equal. A lot of our people are deceived when they believe we have the same advantages that everybody else has in this country. Yes, everybody can wake up every day and go to the corner store, apply for college, fill out an application for a job, go to work, come home. But there are mechanisms in place that make it harder for you. Your name, for instance. Your name can keep you out of certain neighborhoods. Your name can keep you from getting certain loans that so-called Edomites won't have that problem, or even people from other nations. The things that are happening when the numbers are crunched, when the AI is doing its job, that's weeding you out. Things that a lot of our people don't seem to acknowledge that are in play. We have no equality here. And let me tell you something that makes sense. What nation takes another nation and makes them equal to themselves? You can't even say that they're wrong for making sure that they stay in preeminence, because it would only make sense that a nation not make a foreign nation equal to themselves. They sell that lie that everybody's equal and that all lives are equal. No nation on this earth would establish a people in their country on the level of themselves, and no hierarchy, no monarchy, no social economic group, no justice system. This is actually what should be the case. But because they perpetuate that we are equal here and we have all the rights they have, and they're colorblind, and all these things that they say that we know are lies, is what makes it even the greater atrocity. Because when we get our nation, what we look like setting the nation up that they should be able to send to the highest seat as like we could. So we should, with that alone, off the laws of nature, know that it's impossible against nature even for a nation to say, I'm going to allow another nation to ascend to the seat that I sit at. And I'm going to make them equal to myself in every way, because any nation that does that has not a long time to go before that nation ceases to be in rulership. That's why they have these mechanisms in place, but they're even more unrighteous in the mechanism they put in place to keep us down, because they brought us here as slaves. They didn't restore our names, they didn't restore us to our land, but they continually, even now, make us a spoil and a prey through mass incarceration. And our brothers and sisters that sit outside those walls, who only mercy that they could give to those within those walls to send commissary or even a letter, somehow think they're free because they're incarcerated in a land where the borders are the seas and the oceans. But you can't go nowhere either unless you get a passport. And you better tell them how long you're going to be there when you go. And you better have the money to relocate or repatriate yourself. So all of us are mass incarcerated. All of us are in prison. Just some of us have bars to look at, and the rest of us just have our front door to look at. So, any thoughts, Brother Bonnier?
Yeah, they do what they do for self-preservation. Our only job is to stop believing them. You know, stop buying into this whole thing. Stop playing that game. You know, that's what we need to stop doing. But we keep going out there, we keep voting and putting other nations up above us, you know. Oh yeah, I'm gonna vote for the lesser evil. Don't vote for evil at all. How about that? You know? And that's just on that side. And then you got brothers and sisters that think that this religion called Christianity was made for everybody to be saved. No, it wasn't. That religion was made to destroy Israel and culturally appropriate our book and our heritage. The Most High ain't sending nobody back here to save everybody. As we just observed, there's a people in need of saving. And if we're going to look at the book and see what's consistent throughout the book, the Most High never sent a savior to Israel to save them and the antagonists. He never sent a savior to save Israel out of the hands of those afflicting them, along with those that are afflicting them. Thus, hence, to save us from the hands of our enemies. The hands of our enemies. That's what salvation is. But everybody, you know, Israel want everybody to be saved. And that is not why Mashiach came. He did not come to save everybody. He came to ensure that you could be delivered. He came to reconcile you, Israel, back to the Father. Remember, back to the Father. So you was his at one point. So he died so that you can be reconciled. And that you can be delivered out of the hands of your enemies. Not for every Tom, Dick, and Harry to be delivered. Not for those nations that hate you to be delivered. What sense did that make? Why do you think that the Most High came to save the same people that we read in Revelations after the millennial reign would rise up against the Mashiach and against Israel again? Those are foreign nations. Those are heathens rising up against the Mashiach and against the Most High and his people that get destroyed. Why would they do that? If they wanted the rule of the Mashiach in the first place. If they was for so-called Jesus Christ. Why would these nations rise up against him? And where's heaven at in all of this? But when we look at these things that's right before us, and if we really believe the book is true and that we the people of the book, how do you see these things and think that the Most High is coming to save anybody out except for Israel? Who else is in need of saving? Stop believing the lies. The Most High didn't come to save everybody. Stop believing the lies. These people don't view you as equal. Stop believing the lies. This country was not founded on principles that ensure your safety and equality. Believing in lies only give them power. Stop believing it. All across the board. Whether it's secular, spiritual religious, stop believing it. Stop believing their lies. They have this nation for them. It's not for us. Plain and simple. This is not our rest. This is not our nation. Why you want this nation? Why would you want this crap when we can have the world? When the Most High promised us the ends of the earth? When he promised us rulership under the heavens, everything underneath the heavens belonged to us. That means the whole earth. Why you want to be an American? Why you want to be a Christian? When you know that Christianity was forced on the Israelites. Why would you want to be that? Stop believing the lies. That's all we got to do. Keep the Most High's commandments. Stop believing the lies. I was listening to this sister. She was saying how it's heresy to teach that you're supposed to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. And she said the law, statutes, and commandments was given to the Israelites to ensure that there wasn't degradation in their society. I'm like, so what you mean to say is, so if it was given to them to ensure that degradation don't run rampant in this society, then that's what you're for in this society today? Degradation? Stop believing the lies, man. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, so I agree with you, brother. Like you have, you can't. If we're going to dwell here, obviously we can't have degradation here. We would have to keep the laws here, and this is, in the places that we're scattered, we would have to turn back to the very things we didn't keep. This subject is not by all means over, in the sense that there were so many other things. If you go into Second Ezra, chapter 11 and 12, when it talks about the eagle and the feathers, you'll get understanding of who our captives are, like how the Bible articulates to us. So our people have to understand that these things that are happening to us is so we don't become at rest, that we don't get comfortable. Our shoes are supposed to be on. We're supposed to be in flight mode like our people was in ancient Egypt. We're supposed to be ready to go. Let us go, let us go, let us go, that we may serve our Most High in the wilderness, that we may restore the old waste places, that we may build his temple, that he's going to take pleasure in it, that he may restore us to our names and give us the land allotments, our inheritance, that our families may thrive unimpeded, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, perfectly keeping the feast days. We can't do that here. We cannot serve the Most High here the way we can serve in the land. That's why it was always a caveat to in the land that he sends us into the land. Let us go, let us go, let us go, let us go. We have to constantly say that. Our people are already feeling it right now. It's like, listen, we tired of this. People let go of husbands and wives easier than they're willing to divorce the place of our captivity. We're ready to let go of true friends, family members, mothers and fathers for the slightest of offenses, but we're yet to be able to say, let us go from this society. We're married to this abominable place. We've dressed this place in a nasty garment. And we said, let's go to the wedding chapel and let's be abominable. This place is not for us. Reparations, repatriation, what is owed to us, our names being restored. These things are right, man. We are the princes of this earth. We're the princes and the princesses. We're the kings and the queens. Scripture say in the law, didn't I say ye are gods? We are the sons and daughters of the Most High. We have the heavenly oracles, and we didn't have to go to no distant planet to get it. The Most High gave it to us. So our people have to understand that let us go, let us go, let us go. That's all we should know at this point. So we'll say if any brothers and sisters want to support the work, help us to continue to bring these things. We're going to bring them regardless. But if y'all want to help support, y'all can cash app us, whatever, free will offering if you want to. Cash app, no side effects 7, or number sign, no side effects 7. Any means, if anybody want to support freely, and also even with some of the research and legwork, anybody feel like they want to help add to some of the things that we're bringing forth, you could do that as well. We're a family, a community, not just us, and this is why we don't speak against any other Israelites on our platform. We don't come out and just come against other brothers of our nation. We don't do it. Whatever we're going to do is going to be in-house. We're not going to let them set us against our people for their enjoyment. That's how we have to do it. That's how it must be done. Everything in-house. And like I said, anybody who wants the calendar, you have to leave your email. You have to send the email, Brother Bonnie. Give him the email. Can you also type, brother? Can you type in the email and the Cash App?
Yeah. Let me put that in there right now.
Let me show my little shofar right here. I mean, you want to call it that? I mean, I had it years ago. Can't upgrade right now, but so, and I'm struggling with the blowing of this thing right now. So I'm going to do that when I'm by myself. But yeah, today is the Feast of Trumpets, and so you blow the trumpet like we would in the time of our gladness, how it says in Numbers chapter 10. Every month we would blow it, and then we would blow it at on the Feast of Trumpets, which is tonight, and then mainly in the morning as well. You want to go out and blow your trumpet.
What's the Cash App, brother?
Number $, no side effects 7.
Could you put in the private, and I'll copy and paste it in there?
All right. So if you got one, blow your trumpet and whatnot, and hopefully we'll all be in the land of the living, keeping the feast together soon. All right, what's up? All right, so I put it in the private. For most people, seeing as those are the Feast of Trumpets, if you're going to send any support to the channel, to the platform, wait till after the Feast of Trumpets is over at sunset. And like anytime we give a lesson on the Shabbat, wait till after the Shabbat if you're going to send any, any support to the platform and the work that we do. And like I said, if anybody else want to, I actually got this shofar. I can't even remember where I bought it from years ago. I had it so many years, I can't remember where I actually got it. So I would just be guessing right now where I got it from. I can't remember. I know I bought it somewhere, but I can't remember exactly where. And I was actually blessed, and when I came home, still have it. It was like still in my stuff. So all praise the Most High to that. So I didn't even try to sit there and blow it in front of y'all, because all y'all would have heard me blowing air, and then I would have got lucky. I would have got blessed at some point, and it would have came out right. I used to blow this thing. I used to be able to sound it off real good. I got to get my skills back up with it. So when we get off this live, I'm going to go out and I'm going to blow the shofar, and I'm going to blow the shofar in the morning, and pray the Most High accounted for all our nation. And I think we all should have that mind. Whenever we do something according to the law, and we pray this accounted for the whole nation of Israel, our houses, and for our people that know and know not, because it's a just thing that we will hope that all of our people is accredited the righteous things, even if they don't know, because some of us are going to know later and we're going to do it. You know, we live in this time, and I was telling my son this, one of my sons, is that we live at a unique time in history that our people are going to see the salvation of our people. Our people are going to live. We live in the time of the second Exodus. So it's not like our people that died 200 years ago that will be judged on their life up until the point that they died. A lot of our people that don't believe and don't live the right way right now will have the benefit of seeing the Most High salvation. So when you worry for your mothers and your aunts and your cousins and your brothers and sisters, like they don't serve the Most High and they doing this and they doing that. If they're preserved just a little while longer, they'll get a chance to see the great things and change on, and at that moment. So they're go. I'm sorry, bro.
Pardon. I have to go tend to some things, but just I want to say shalom and blessing to everybody, and thanks for the lesson, brother. This is definitely revealing and also encouraging. I'll holler at you when I get this stuff done.
All right. Well, we're shutting it down anyway. So Israel, let us go. That's where we at with it. Let me get a let us go before I shut it down. Let us go. I'm gonna get a let us go from everybody in here. If you don't say let us go, that means let's stay. That's how I'm calling it. You don't say let us go, it means let's stay. And you alone with that one, because I'm trying to get out of here. Come on, everybody. Let me get a let us go. I know brothers and sisters not suffering through carpal tunnel or nothing like that. Let's go. Let us go. Come on, let's go. All right. I at least want to see one page of let us goes before we shut it down. Okay. All right. Well, all praise the Most High. So peace and blessings to all the brothers and sisters out there. I pray the Most High bless you and your houses. That the Most High, as we come upon the Day of Atonement, which is coming soon, September 25th is sunset to September 26th is sunset, is the Day of Atonement, at least according to the Enoch calendar. You have the Salt of the Earth email address. If you want the calendar, I can just email it to you. Let us go. So peace and blessings, Zion. Bless you. Let's see.